I have a PhD in German language and literature, and I got it in the wrong field. I really love birds, and I am an amateur ornithologist. I do a lot of reading of technical literature of ornithology, and I love it. And I've been concentrating on the cerulean warbler ever since I started with the Cerulean Warbler Atlas project, Cornell Lab of Ornithology. Fish and Wildlife Service was interested in possibly listing the cerulean warbler as a threatened species on the endangered species list. And they asked the Cornell Lab of Ornithology to find out where ceruleans live and how many are there. I jumped on that and would walk the parkway, work this about a 5-mile stretch, looking for cerulean warblers and listening for them. And I found that I would hear one, over there, and then I'd keep walking and I'd hear one down there, and I just never knew if that was the same bird or not. So then I started recording the birds. And after I finished the field work in June, I then put it on the computer and let it go through the software and see the sonograms so I can see the different songs that are being sung, and eventually with some work distinguish between the males according to individual. So that way I can get a pretty close estimate of the total number of birds of ceruleans that are audible from the road and that are audible from the trail above the road. That's known as the Mountains to Sea Trail. I think the most significant thing my work has shown at this point is that there definitely seems to be a movement, a trend among these cerulean warblers from the southern part of this 5-6 mile stretch to the northern part. And the reason that's important is that the road goes up in elevation. So we're seeing Craven Gap. People would just say, oh, go to Craven Gap if you want to see a cerulean, where you turn onto the parkway. And it's been a few years that there's been one there. Now, there is one up on the trail, just north of here. And the other day I was very surprised to hear one a little farther away with a different song. I don't know what that bird's story is. I went there this morning to check it out because the definition of a bird being on territory is that the bird has been in the same spot at least 8 days. If the bird is here for 2 days and then you never ever see him again, it's likely it was just migrating. So that bird down there is territorial. Why he showed up so late in the season, I don't know. But there are more and more birds now in the northern part of my route. And I would bet the farm that they are now seeking higher elevations. And the reason for that, I think, will jump into most people's head. But, I'm not prepared to say, but if you look at that, and that graph I gave you is a little confusing.
This is south, this is north.
Oh. Yeah, and this part here, I never finished filling that in last year. These are different clumps. There were a couple birds south of Craven Gap once. But you see, it used to be as many as 11 at Craven Gap. And from Craven Gap to the next exit, and there was one last year. And then from Ox Creek to the tunnel, there were 11, and 9 of those were on the trail, so they were quite a bit above the parkway. And then I didn't start walking along here until later. But you see, they're going even north of they're going beyond the Bull Creek important bird area. Craven Gap is just over 3,100 feet in elevation. I just scribbled this down to show you because you all don't, don't know the topography here. But they used to be between 3,100 and about 3,500. And now they're definitely at 3,800. And the northernmost bird is at 4,135. What would happen if they just went up higher? I mean, that mountain is taller than 4,100 feet, right? But you get up pretty far, you get up a little higher, and the trees suddenly are shorter. They're just the wrong habitat for the ceruleans. So they're going to be in a crunch situation at some point in your lifetimes. Tom and I might not see that, I don't know.